Hi, David Paul here. I'm just going to give you a quick update on the job for myself, for my own kind of memory. I have just been lying in my tent. I had a nice shower there. I found an interesting way to heat water. That bucket there is absolutely filthy from putting it on the fire. So it's black. So you stick it in the sun with the water in, and a stainless steel pan bucket shouldn't get that hot, but this gets really hot because it's now no longer shiny. Anyway, I digress. I've had a lie down and a think because I've come up with a really difficult problem. Although I think I know how to solve it now, but I kind of had to work away and um, and struggle with it in order to learn how to do it the right way or figure it out or whatever. I have these two concrete beams here on the floor. There's another one inside. I was chatting to a neighbour, and whilst I'm chatting to him, I thought, "Oh boy, this place is a mess. It's not making the neighbourhood look good." But there are people with lots of building materials outside the house. It's no big deal. But I thought I don't want to be one of the guys who's making the neighbourhood a mess. So these beams have got to go indoors, and I'll sweep the path. And there was a third beam, which is not here because it is indoors. And when I looked at it this morning, I thought, oh my God, I'll do myself a deal. I'll do myself one of these little deals. I'll say, if I get this beam into the house, it's been a success for the day because that's a major challenge. And lo and behold, there is the beam, dragged in by myself. It it weighs, I think, something like 600 kilos, just at a guess. And I can't lift that, but I can lift one end. I can lift about 300 kilos. So what I do is I kind of power lift one end with ropes on it and and yank it round and yank it round and yank it round. So I sort of radiused it round in a radius out towards the front of the house there. So it was lined up towards the house. And I got some piece of tree, there's a pine tree, which a rotten old pine tree, and there's this thing here which I was going to burn for fuel. Unfortunately, it's very, very smoky, so I don't use it much. Um, so I cut that up into three, and I made sort of rollers with it, and I levered the thing along with a plank of wood, so it's on the rollers, sort of Freddie Flintstone style, and I'm levering it with a plank of wood to lever it. Then I lifted it up into the doorway of the house. Then I put it on another roller and rolled it in the door. Lifted it again, moved that roller back and then back and forwards, back and forwards. And then finally I get it into pretty much a similar position to where it's in now. And the plan is to push it up the wall in that corner there, right up to the top. And when I get it up somewhere near the top, the bottom end of the beam would then be over the doorstep and on the inside the doorstep, so it would be incapable, unless it was to push the entire house down, it would be incapable of sliding. So therefore, now I've got what you'd call a safe building site. Things can't happen spontaneously of their own choice. So I'd have a safe building site, and I got it most of the way up the wall, where you can see this sort of chalk mark here where it slipped, and I had planks of wood underneath so that if it slipped, it would ride down and it would hit a plank and stop. I didn't want it to come plummeting down because I don't want to crack the beam, although they seem quite robust, these things. So I got it all the way up there, and I'm kind of running out of the ability to power lift this thing because I need to be taller. Well, I need to be about 7 foot tall to get finally to the top. Otherwise, you're moving yourself further down the beam in order to lift it, and you lift, instead of lifting one end of the beam, you're lifting a substantial proportion of the whole beam, and it's just getting harder and harder. But the further up you get, of course, the less likely it is to slip. It's like a ladder; it's going to slip at a low angle more than it is at a high angle. So anyway, that didn't work. I ended up with the beam wedged up on these. It came down, and it lay there, and it was firmly fixed on top of those posts. But unfortunately, the bottom part of it was not registered into the door. So what I then have is I've got myself an unsafe building site, and I was starving and well tired and needed a shower and stuff and boiling hot. So I wanted to leave. So what I did is I put it in a sort of sliding mode on so it could slide down some beams, and then I chucked it on one um, post. And then I took a plank of wood, stood back, and flung it like a spear at this thing. So it knocked it, allowed the thing to slide down the slide, me nowhere near it, and it's now in a safe condition. Children could come in here and play on that thing. That is not going anywhere, I tell you. It's not going to fall on anyone. It just can't fall any further. So that still begs the question: how on earth am I going to get this thing up to the top of here, span here? I'll tell you what. Sorry, I have no desire to purchase any more of these damn things. They're so heavy. When I get this thing in, that's the end of that. I'm not doing any more. When I get these three in, I may get some shorties for along here, but that'll be it. Okay, so the question is, well, how am I still got this problem because I bought these things and they should be in position. If I can get them in position, then I'm on a winning streak. I've achieved something. Otherwise, all I'm doing is just purchasing materials unless I actually construct anything with them. And I have a bag of cement out there which has got to be used up, one bag, but somewhere in this project it's got to be moved up. And as the days go by, I think of less and less things to do. I think, if I didn't do that, then I wouldn't have to do it. So if I had that style instead of that style, because the original idea is to plaster everything in here. You know, when Apple and the kids and a mother, if they come over, arrive at this place, what's to say that they might just say, wow, my God, the stonework is so beautiful. Just because I don't like stonework doesn't mean that they should not like it. So maybe I should just leave that because lots of people have stonework in their houses and it's no big deal. And there's no prejudice against it. Otherwise, half of Portugal would have to move out of their homes. So therefore, maybe I should just leave the stonework and just concentrate on the fitting out. And then we'll sit back and decide whether we're going to plaster it or not later on when we've got all the time in the world. Because this roof is the big tamale round here. I've just discovered that one of these up the top there, where's my hand? My hand moves in reverse to what I see. If I do put that up, 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 up. That's it. There. Yeah, on the camera, it kind of raise my hand, raise your hand. There. Up there. There's a sort of A-frame made out of thin trees, and it's rotten in the corner. And I'm wondering, is that exerting a side force on the house? And I had to think about it. There are purlins, which are these beams that run the full length of a building, and there are purlins in this building. And fortunately, I think the purlins are taking the load on it, so it's protecting that wall from being pushed out. Because this is a big thing with roofs pushing out sideways. That's one of the reasons why I like flat roofs. They're incapable of pushing a building walls out because they just sit on top like a cookie jar. Okay, so we're still okay with that roof. It's not going to land on our heads, but it is a matter of concern, and it is something I've got to get closed before I leave this place. I have tried everywhere to find a damp-proof course for the floor, and I'm getting nowhere. So tomorrow I go to Avlar, and people report to me that there are lots of building supply companies there. Building supplies in Portugal, one guy tends to sell one thing and another guy sells another thing, and they're very, very specialised. Not like in the UK where you got everything under one roof. Apart from, say, Leroy Leroy Merlin, which is in Coimbra, but unfortunately that's an hour's ride away, and then I've got to start paying delivery fees from a long distance. So anyway, I'm going to go to Avlar tomorrow and see what they've got. So that's it, back to square one. Still having a terrible time finding any. I'm running out of money now anyway, so it's a moot point. But I'm having a terrible time trying to find anyone who will sell me eucalyptus trees of any kind, because this new friend of mine in the village gave me some eucalyptus wood, and it's old and it's partially rotten, and it's good for like sort of rough work while you're temporarily chopping something up or whatever. But I felt it and I noticed something about it. It's so hard and very, very strong, and it rings, and that's always a sign. If you hit it, it rings like a bell. That's always a good sign that you've got a good hard piece of wood there. So after all that abuse and being left lying around for years, and it's still a good piece of wood, so I'm now convinced that eucalyptus is the way to go, especially since Portugal's just full of this stuff. There's just so much eucalyptus. If we could just repurpose it towards timber, the country could make more money. I'll see what I can do about that. It's all a question of stabilizing the stuff, really. It needs to be cut immediately. Immediately you fell the tree, you need to cut the wood so as to relieve the stresses in it, because it needs to dry. It needs to shrink a lot, and woods that shrink a lot when they dry end up with cracks all over the place. So you've got to throw them a bone and help them out in the process. So that's the problem today, and I'm going to jack it for the day, and I'm going to do some paperwork type things. I've got forms to fill in for teaching jobs, and I'm going to get started on that. And I'm tired, and the last thing I want to do, all I want to do is, like, I don't know, lie in a warm bath, get out, lie in a warm bed, drink a beer, and watch TV, and I just can't, because I don't have a house to do that in. I don't have a TV. I got some beer and it's warm, and I don't have a bed. I bought a new duvet, which is really thin, but it's sort of a little touch of luxury. It's more like a bed cover than a duvet. But it was a touch of luxury last night, and I thought this is a taste of things to come. One day you will be living in luxury, perhaps. Small luxury in a small house in Portugal. So that's it. That's the problem today, and that's what's got to be solved. And oh yes, I never mentioned how I'm going to do it. I've forgotten. Oh yes, what I'm hoping to do, because I don't want to involve other people in my jobs, because you're involving people in risk. What if a piece of wood fell on a guy and he ended up with a broken back, and he didn't get out? If I end up with a broken back, that's tough on me, But at least it's my house. I'm doing it for me. But this poor hypothetical person is going to end up in trouble over me. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to figure out a way to do these things myself. So the plan is I'm going to tie a rope there. I'll tie another rope there, and I'll place the beam diagonally, and I will have it hanging on ropes. Then I will chock the beam up a little bit at one end, and then I'll tighten the rope. Then I'll go to the other end and tighten it, and I'll do it like an inch, 2 inches at a time. And I'll crawl all the way up the wall, and it'll take me all day till the rope is all the way at the top. Now, if this Tower of Babel that I'm creating of wood that's going to support these things here, if any one of those were to collapse or it slipped off and it all fell away and whatnot, it doesn't matter because it's going to hang on the rope. So if it fails, it'll just go boom and just stop, and I'll have to reconstruct it underneath. So that seems to be the safest way to get them up. And then when you're finally at the top, you will, I will, like the way people knit. There's like a loop on the end, which is the rope. They also cross the knitting needles over each other. So all I will do is, on the final push, I will cross that concrete beam over, so it goes onto that there and crosses over and loops on, and then I'll go to the other end and do exactly the same thing. And then once they're up top upstairs, I rotate it by just moving it an inch at a time, and it's timing the other end back and forwards until I've got it resting on the walls opposite like this, the way I want it to be. And then I've done it, and then I've scored, and it's all over, and no more problems. I've stood on this beam, bounced around on it, and when it bounces initially, but once you put a load on it, it just stops, and it's absolutely rock solid. So I'm quite content that I've made the right choice to buy these things. It's just that I hate concrete. You know, it has the ability to get beyond your physical, personal one-man capability. If you want to make a house, you want to build a house, you can build a house the size of Buckingham Palace or anything you like, Trump Tower, anything you like, if you do it in wood, in small bits of wood, and fix them, screw them, bolt them, glue them together. In fact, they're now making skyscrapers out of wood, and it's called X-wood. They're bits of wood which are glued together in a cross fashion, in opposed directions, so 90 degrees to each other. So you can do all of that, but the problem with stone, well, not even so much stone because it's one stone at a time. The problem with concrete is the components then start to get so big and so heavy, and the mixing of stuff and everything, it becomes too much hard work, such that it becomes past the physical capabilities of one man to do all this stuff, and that's where you get in trouble. So just a thought. I watched a video yesterday, and it came up, and it was talking about 4x2 construction, saying that it was a new, it's not unique to America, but it's been taken on uniquely in America as a sort of methodology that it's widespread, more widespread in America. 4x2 construction. What they're saying is that all these fancy Japanese woodwork things and this and that and the other, they're all very well, but you need a lot of skill to practice all this carpentry and so on. Whereas the 4x2 construction can be done by relatively low skilled persons. And I thought, oh, you're onto something here. And also, the timber that you're carrying around is not big. Length of 4x2, you can carry a length of that about 30, 40 foot long, and it wouldn't hurt you. So you can fabricate things from this 4x2 timber, and it just made me think that's the way to go for the future. After I'm finished with this project, I should be looking at 4x2 construction. And in my case, it will be bolted together so that if I need to change something, I can take it apart. Not screwed, nothing permanent. Basically a Meccano set. So anyway, this is supposed to be a quick video. It's now 19 minutes, but that's the way it is at the minute. So, Jesus be with you. Have a nice day.